Hey, how you doing, T? How you doing, ladies? How you doing? How are you? I'm doing fantastic. It's good to see you. Yes, and all praises be to God and His glory and His goodness. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Said when all else fails, just stand. Just stand. What else would children of God have? Just stand and He'll fight the battles. And vengeance is not mine. Huh? You see what I'm saying? You know, you see, yes, of course. Because no, we're not going like that. I would prefer not to, do all that in the public setting. But if he refuses, active commission,
Ladies and gentlemen, if you could give us about 5 minutes, we just waiting on some documents to be brought forth and for us to proceed. Thank y'all.
He's got it.
I'd like to call this meeting in order. I will ask for everybody to keep John Clark, former Commissioner, District 10, as well as our friend, in your prayers, because he needs it more than ever, and put his family in that prayer as well. The second thing I would ask is for a moment of silence. We had last week, we had lost Tyler Sneed. He was over our Augusta Canal Authority. We had lost him. He left behind a beautiful wife and 2 little girls. So if we could take a moment of silence, please. All right. Madam Clerk, I'd like to call this meeting in order. Do we have any additions or deletions to this?
Yes, sir. We have one addition, appointments from District 7 on behalf of Commissioner Tina Slindak.
Does anybody have a problem being added? No issues, no problems. All right, Madam Clerk, let's start.
Our invocation today will be shared with us by Reverend Tony Christie, pastor of the Hillcrest Baptist Church, after which we would like to ask our city administrator, Ms. Tamika Allen, if she would please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Would you please stand?
Heavenly Father, we're so grateful for the privilege of prayer and the power of prayer. And God, we ask that you would be indeed with the Sneed family, bring others alongside to share in your love for them, your care and your compassion, and just look after their needs, we pray, today and into the days ahead, and help them during their days ahead of loss and grief. And God, also we pray for Don Clark. God, we ask for your intervention, for your provision, and God, for your hand to be seen, along with your heart to be seen in the midst of Don's situation. And God, I pray that you would strengthen him and look after his family as well. God, we thank you for Tuesday when our mayor shared some information about the state of our city. And God, it was informational, but even more importantly, it was so inspirational. God, such a great city. And I pray that it will be great as you smile upon it. God, as you give direction, your leadership, I pray that our heart will be bent to follow your leadership, your direction. And God, give us your wisdom. Thank you for our commissioners. Thank you for those who work alongside them as well. Thank you, Lord, for our mayor and his wife and family. God, I pray that you would continue to bless each one, bless this great city, and may we seek to follow you in all things. But most of all, thank you for loving us the way you do. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Reverend Christie, we would like to thank you for coming and sharing with us, and especially for the intercessory prayers on behalf of Tyler Stee's family and former Commissioner John Clark, that God will intervene in these situations with his loving kindness that he has shown toward us. And thank you, we do have the privilege of prayer, which is truly a great privilege.
Amen.
By these presents be it known that Reverend Tony Christie, pastor of the Hillcrest Baptist Church, is the chaplain of the day. May his spiritual guidance and civic leadership serve as an example to all citizens of Augusta, given under my hand this 23rd day of January, 2025. Garnett L. Johnson, Mayor. Thank you so very much. At this time, I call your attention to the recognition portion of our agenda. The Augusta Commission would like to offer its congratulations to our 2024 December Years of Service 25 to 50-year recipients. Director Anita Ruckert, thank you.
Good afternoon, Mayor Pro Tem, Commissioners, citizens of Augusta, our administrator. Today, it gives us great joy to recognize our December Years of Service recipients. For the month of December 2024, we have 33 employees celebrating 5 to 50 years of service. This afternoon, we'd like to recognize our 25 to 50 years of service recipients for the month of December. The years of service and institutional knowledge being celebrated today is 530 years. That's amazing. So when I call your names, please come forward. Also, I'd like to just mention that practically every person on this list is a first responder. John Perry, Sheriff's Office, 25 years. Walter Lampkin, Sheriff's Office, 25 years. Mary Johnson, Emergency 911, 25 years. Michael Barnes, Fire Department, 25 years. Just stay. Jeffrey Ayers, Fire Department, 25 years. Moses Washington, Fire Department, 25 years. Ralph Wickie, Fire Department, 25 years. Mark Larmer, Transit, 30 years. Tiffany Whitman, Sheriff's Office, 30 years. Andrew, Florida, Utilities, 35 years. Again, thank you to all of our year's recipients.
Our next presentation will be from the American Heart Association Leaders of Impact Award, presented to Ms. Shantia Lewis, Deputy Director, Augusta Housing and Community Development Department. Would you please come forward?
Afternoon. My name is Meredith Mamongan, and I have the privilege of serving as the Development Manager for the American Heart Association here in the CSRA. Today, we are gathered to honor someone truly remarkable, Shantia Lewis, the recipient of the 2024 Leaders of Impact Award. This award is a recognition of her outstanding dedication and tireless efforts to improve the health and well-being of those around her, particularly in the area of cardiovascular health. As many of you know, cardiovascular disease is one of the leading causes of death in the United States, and it affects so many families and communities across our nation. For Shantia, this cause is personal. Her commitment to her heart health stems from a deeply meaningful experience, watching her grandmother, Caretha Miles, suffer a stroke when Shantia was just a child. This moment ignited a passion within her to make a difference, and today that passion has led to her extraordinary advocacy and leadership. Shantia's fundraising efforts have been nothing short of inspiring. In just 7 weeks, she raised $11,225. So this is more funds than any other nominee in both Georgia and South Carolina. That highlights her unwavering determination and her ability to bring people together for a common cause. As the Deputy Director for Housing and Community Development with the City of Augusta, and as a member of the American Heart Association's CSRA Board of Directors, Shantia continues to leverage her platform to make a real impact. Her work goes beyond raising funds. She is raising awareness, providing education, and championing the policies and resources needed to improve health outcomes for all. Additionally, we want to extend our heartfelt gratitude to the City of Augusta for their previous and ongoing support of the Heart Walk campaigns, 2022 Women of Impact campaign, and for the Mayor's presence at our 2024 Heart Ball. Specifically, we are currently working with both the community housing and development teams, as well as the parks and recreation teams, to build healthier environments for all Augusta residents. We are so proud of our shared mission with the City of Augusta, serving the residents of this vibrant city by prioritizing health and wellness for everyone. We look forward to your continued and expanded collaboration as we work together to make strides in improving the overall health of our community. Shantia, on behalf of the American Heart Association and all of us here today, it is an honor to present you with the 2024 Leaders of Impact plaque. Your work is a testament to the power of advocacy, of leadership, and of heart. Let's continue to work together to build a healthier, stronger future for all. Thank you.
I'm down there too. I know.
Yeah, he had to, right?
Thank you, Mr. Mason. All right, Madam Clerk.
Yes, sir.
I guess this is the time where we do anything that we're going to add, pull, consent.
I'm sorry, under the delegations, are we going to address that? Have they? They're not
Anybody
here
from the
today? Okay, all right. All right. So delegation C through F, they called saying they would not attend because of the weather situation. They could not attend this meeting.
Okay, I imagine they come in at a later date.
Yes, sir.
Okay, great.
Okay. Our consent agenda will consist of items 1 through 24. Items 1 through 24. For the benefit of any objectors to our planning petitions, would you please signify your objections by raising your hand once the petition is read? Call your attention to item number 2. It's a request for a rezoning from a zone R1A1 family residential and a light industry to a zone light industry affecting properties located at 1840 and 1858 Wiles Road. Item number 3 is a request for rezoning to amend the planned unit development zoning conditions from a zone Z2320 affecting property located at 1427, 1437 Broad Street. Are there any objectors?
None noted on either one, Madam Clerk.
Okay, thank you. Item number 4 is a request for rezoning from an R1B, one family residential, to a Zone 1C, one family residential, affecting property located at 1924 Grand Boulevard. Are there any objectors?
None noted.
Item number 5 is a request for a special exception to establish a funeral home affecting property located at 1749 Gordon Highway. Are there any objectors?
None noted, ma'am.
Okay. Our consent agenda consists of items 1 through 24 with no objections to our planning petitions. However, we need to recognize the alcohol petitions as well. Item number 7 is a request for an on-premise liquor, beer, and wine license to be used in connection with the location at 875 Broad Street. Are there any objectors? Item number 8 is a request for an existing ownership applicant doing business as Green Street Supermarket located at number 2 Green Street. Are there any objectors?
Not an objection, but a question.
Was that? Mr. Mayor, Mr. Johnson from District 1 has questions on that one.
Yes, sir. Would you like to pull it, or would you like to?
Let's pull it. Let's pull it. Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Pull, okay. Item number 8 is a new applicant for a retail package beer and wine license to be used in connection with the location at number 2 Green Street. Are there any objectors? Okay, that's the same. Item number 9 is a request for an on-premise consumption of liquor, beer, and wine license with dance for a location at 4020 Mike Paget Highway. Are there any objectors?
Here, I'm seeing none. Let's continue.
Okay. Item number 10 is a request for an existing location retail package beer and wine license to be used in connection with the location at 3082 Deansbridge Road. Are there any objectors?
Seeing or hearing none, let's continue, Madam Clerk.
Item number 11 is for a retail package beer and wine license to be used in connection with the location at 1857 Gordon Highway. Are there any objectors?
Seeing none, let's continue.
Item number 12 is a request for a new ownership retail package beer and wine license to be used in connection with the location at 619 Boundary. Are there any objectors?
Seeing none, let's continue.
Item 13 is a request for a retail package beer and wine license to be used in connection hold on. Located at 4212 Windsor Spring Road. Are there any objectors?
Seeing none, let's continue, Madam Clerk.
Okay. Our consent agenda. Pages sticking together today. Consent agenda consists of items 1 through 24 with no objectors to our planning petitions. Commissioner Johnson is asking that number 7 and 8 be pulled.
Just number 8, Madam Clerk.
8, okay. So that's it, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Ladies and gentlemen, I apologize for my tardiness. Colleagues, Chair recognizes Commissioner Tony Lewis from the 6th.
Not in the queue.
I'm sorry.
Next, I think we
They have our mic.
Oh, I'm sorry. They swapped your seats. Commissioner Francine Scott.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Number 17, I guess we're going to have some discussion on that.
All right, Madam Clerk, we may need to pull 17 as well.
I'm not going to stop.
You gonna pull 17?
Yes, sir. Hold on, just a minute. Let me ask the attorney.
Where's Jeff at? Jeff. He's gonna fix it. All right, Madam Clerk, 17, are we pulling or?
You're pulling it, or you, from the consent agenda, or? So discuss.
I'm just making sure we're going to discuss 17.
Okay, she wants to, yeah. She
Okay.
wants to pull
So
it for discussion.
Pull it for discussion.
Mr. Mayor, I'm not sure, but was that not sent back to committee? Because I know there was a direction for the administrator and legal to come up with the data for next week.
That's what it was. Can we just remove, can we remove 17?
Okay.
All right.
You want to remove it back to
Yes,
committee?
back to committee. Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Thank you, Commissioner Scott. Chair recognizes the Commissioner from the first, Commissioner Jordan Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Want to offer 25, 28, 30,
Can you hold
and
just a moment, 25?
25, 28, 30, and 31 to consent.
I need just a question or two on 30, Madam Clerk, Commissioner.
Number 30, you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Just
so
very,
that's-
very
comes
briefly.
off, okay.
30 is removed.
Madam Clerk, I have, oh, sorry about that. Mr. Mayor?
I'm getting to you. Let me work through the queue if you don't mind. You got a question regarding one of these, 25, 28, 30, 31? Commissioner Clark?
Yes.
All right, which one?
25, I'd like to discuss that one.
All right. Madam Clerk, remove 25. All right. Chair recognizes Commissioner Mayor Pro Tempore from the 10th.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I agree with District 1 Commissioner Jordan Johnson. I've just asked if he would consent to waive the second reading on this agenda item as well. On agenda item number 28.
Yeah, that's fine.
All right.
Waive second reading.
Okay.
Thank you.
Chair recognizes Commissioner Tony Lewis. And Jeff, you need to fix it. He's from the 6th Commission District. Thank you. Commissioner Lewis, you have the floor, sir.
Thank you, Mayor Johnson. It's my understanding that my colleague from the 5th pulled number 25 for discussion. I would like to be able to add for discussion a individual that wanted to be a part of the delegation for that. Since it falls on that particular discussion, I would like to add that person to be able to come up and speak before we have discussions on number 25.
All right, it would have to be agreed upon on this body to add a delegation.
Absolutely.
All right.
That's what I'm asking.
Can you identify the person you'd like to speak so I can see if there's no objection from this body?
Yes, sir. Miss Virginia Cody.
All right. Is there any objection to adding Miss Virginia Cody to the delegation to speak regarding item 25? Hearing or seeing none. All right.
Mr. Mayor, can I get a point of clarity for adding Miss, can you say her last name again?
Ms. Cody?
Virginia Cody.
Yes, sir.
Ms. Virginia Cody represents the 6th District, and she approached me about wanting to speak on this particular matter, and she was unable to be on this week as a delegation because she didn't meet the required time of 9 a.m. on Thursday. So that's why I'm asking that she be allowed to speak today.
All right. Is there any objection to that? Adding Ms. Cody to the delegation to speak regarding item 25. Seeing none, she will have an opportunity. Commissioner Lewis.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
You got it. All right. Commissioner Mayor Pro Tempore.
Consent agenda item number 31.
I think it's already been added. All right, colleagues. Does that wrap us up?
Mr. Mayor.
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Slindak has received consent to add her district appointments to today's agenda. And as you know, those appointments usually go under consent agenda as prerogative of the appointing commissioner.
Yes, ma'am.
However, for the record, if we could we just enumerate who they are?
Yes, ma'am, we certainly can.
Okay, on behalf of District 7. Mr. Steve Laracy to the Planning Commission, Marsha Cole to the Library Board, Charles Duffy Heath to the Historic Preservation Commission, Mr. Randy Sasser to the Augusta Regional Airport Board, Mr. Dalton Brannon to the Animal Control Board, and Mr. Richard Isdale to the Canal Authority, District 7.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Do we need to, so those are consented. Is there any objection to consent those? No objection, all right. All right, colleagues, we have our consent agenda before us. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
There's a motion by Commissioner Alvin Mason, second by Commissioner Catherine Smith Rice. Madam Clerk, we're voting.
That motion carries with Mr. Garrett out.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. We're going to top to bottom. I guess we'll start number 8.
Number 8, it's a motion to approve an existing location, new ownership, retail package beer and wine license to be used in connection with the location at number 2 Green Street.
All right. Commissioner Johnson, you want to open this up, or you want to let our...
I'll give a...
You pull this item.
Yes, sir. I'll give my concern, and then I'll yield to the department. I know that a number of stores along East Boundary are going under new ownership. My concern with this location is not so much the ownership, but just the alcohol license, the beer and wine license. This location has been at the center of a lot of calls that I've received from the East Augusta neighborhood about loitering, criminal activity. I believe a teenager was shot there at one point. This was, of course, before you take over as owner. But in this location, I mean, I wanted to know what security plan is in place to, keep this kind of thing from happening at this location, as we've seen at some other spots that's come before the commission before. Again, when I ride up East Boundary, I don't care what time of day it is, somebody or multiple somebodies are outside that store, loitering, selling drugs, God forbid, shooting or whatever. Like, I'm not exaggerating. That's what's happening. So if we're going to have beer, we're going to have wine and whatever else at this location, what safety plans do we have in place to make sure that it is a safe place for the people in the neighborhood and that it doesn't remain this hotbed for bad activity?
Sir, if you were for a record, please state your name and address.
I'm Jared Pedigo. I'm from 4720 Laurel Oak Drive, Augusta, Hepzibah, 30815.
Thank you, sir.
I guess the securities we have imposed is placing cameras all over, and our workers and everyone are kind to each and everyone. And we hope we do not have any problem. We have few security systems which are keeping us updated on our every moment. So that's it.
Follow up, Mr. Mayor?
Yes, sir. You may, Commissioner.
Are we able to suggest strongly the same recommendations for this store that we suggested for, I forgot the name of the store, and I won't say it, but over on Olive Road, the one at the Glendale store that we were dealing with last year? I believe we required certain hours, we required security, we required cameras and sheriff's office help, things like that. Are we able to look into that before approving this?
I guess we are having a good amount of hours. We are open at 10 o'clock to 7 o'clock. I guess that's a pretty good time for not having any harmful things to go on. And we'll also implement the security of sheriffs and everything.
Can we get that added into this and then maybe brought back before us? Can I hear from the department on what that would look like? Because again, I just don't want, I don't think we should go down that same road that we went down last time.
Let's hear from the department. Let me see if we can add it at this stage.
Not opposed to having the beer and wine here, but it's a pretty unsafe corner.
And is it within our purview? Does it have to go back to planning or licensing? Should we send it back to them? Attorney Plunkett, is that action that we can take, or should we send it back?
I think if the applicant is wanting to agree to those restrictions, we could go ahead and move forward today. If otherwise, I think it would need to go back to.
Okay.
Okay.
Sir, are you prepared to agree to the restrictions that the commissioner from the first is asking of you in your business? Can you repeat those, Commissioner Johnson?
Yeah, if it'd be easier if we were able to get the department to share what those guidelines were based off of the other incident we had, and then apply it to this store as well just as a precaution. And I believe Brian may have that information. Brian, can you come to the podium, please? Brian, can you remind us of what those security measures were, those safeguards that we put in place?
I'm not sure that I would have a good recollection of those, but it was the security cameras. There were signs posted on the property concerning no loitering. But we do have those. We do have a record of that. Okay.
So in the event that we make the motion, does it have to say, motion to approve with, amended language to reflect security precautions or something like that?
Yes.
Okay. So moved.
All right. Sir, do you agree to the?
Yes, sir.
All right. So this.
Okay, I'm sorry. We have an attorney coming up.
If there was any interest in this body to hold the license holder, Samuel Miller, senior staff attorney, if there's any interested body to hold that individual to account, they need to have notice of the exact specifics of what is in their, of what is in the thing. The motion would have to independently say each of those restrictions, so that this license holder who is not aware of those restrictions would be able to substantially agree to them. Otherwise, they don't have notice of it, and this body would not be able to hold them to that account. If the department doesn't have those specifics for them today, it would be better to move it back and bring it back.
Thank you. I'll withdraw my motion and just ask that we bring this before the next full commission with those parameters included in this item.
Yes, sir.
All right. Commissioner Johnson, thank you for that. Is there any objection to moving this back to next commission cycle?
Thank you, colleagues.
I'm going to let Commissioner Guilfoyle.
Just a question from my colleague from the first, just to make sure. Hours are from 10 to 7, and security cameras and signs up, no loitering. Is that correct?
From my recollection, yes, that's what we have, but I want to make sure that we're not missing anything. But that, it should suffice for this location, but I want to just make sure that the department has a chance.
All right, I just needed to make sure they had a clear understanding as well,
sir.
Commissioner.
Thank you.
All right. Is there any objection to putting those conditions in place from this body? Seeing or hearing none, we're going to move this to the next commission meeting with that language. Thank you, Commissioner from the first. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right. Madam Clerk, I think that takes us to 25.
Item 25 is a motion to amend the charter review resolution to include adding proposed charter changes to a ballot referendum to be approved, voted on by the citizens of Augusta, Richmond County.
Thank you so much, Madam Clerk. Commissioner from the 6th, I'm going to recognize you in that you have a special guest that would like to address this body.
Thank you, Mayor Johnson. If you would, Ms. Cody, Ms. Virginia Cody. You can just.
Good day, Ms. Cody. Thank you for being here. If you will, for the records, please state your name and address.
Yes, thank you. My name is Virginia Cody, and I live at 2103 Trade Drive, Augusta, Georgia, 30906.
Thank you, ma'am. We're going to give you 5 minutes.
Thank you for allowing me to speak and voice my concern. It is my understanding that the commission voted not to allow the local delegation to appoint an additional member to be part of the charter review, and not to allow the results from the charter review to be a referendum for the citizens to vote on. Since these two items were tied together, I would like clarification on if it was voted down because you didn't want an additional person to be on the committee, or if you didn't want the citizens to have a vote at the conclusion of the charter review. If it is the latter, I would like to make an appeal to allow the referendum to be voted on by the citizens. That's it.
Thank you, Ms. Cody. Stay there. There may be some questions. I assure you, as I've stated, any changes to our charter should be voted on by the citizens of Augusta, Richmond County, and hopefully we'll get to that. Secondly, this body agreed that each member of the commission, as well as the mayor, would be able to make one appointee. Since that you're a vocal supporter of going through this process, hopefully you're appointed to that committee, and that's our intent. To have engagement by everyday citizens included in their government in which it's theirs. So with that said, Commissioner Tony Lewis, you're still in the queue, sir. Is there anything additional you'd like to add?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mayor Johnson. I would just like to thank Ms. Cody for the intuitiveness that she's displayed here today. Have a lot of questions when I go to my neighborhood association meetings, and you guys have questions for me. You ask questions, and the answers that I give you are sometimes not what it is that you want. Coming here today, having seen this already on our agenda, it just gives us another opportunity. Having seen this already on our agenda, it just gives us another opportunity to have some further dialogue and discussions about this particular item that you referenced today. Again, thank you for being here today, Ms. Cody.
You're welcome, and thank you.
Ms. Cody, sit tight. There's some other colleagues in the queue. And let me remind you, all these sessions will be open to the public and highly encouraged the public to attend. Chair recognizes Commissioner Jordan Johnson from the first.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I put this back on the agenda today because I realized that while we've been somewhat debating how the process should look, there was a few motions made that would allow for elected officials to serve on the board. It would allow for our delegation to appoint members to a board, and it would allow for this to go to a vote. I also realized that there was, some unreadiness on some of those items, and we all had conversations about that. And so I put this back on the agenda today to remove all the extra stuff and just leave it solely at allowing the citizens to vote on this as a form of a referendum. So I wanted to make sure to clear that up, not only just for the sake of folks who are listening and watching and for Ms. Cody, but also to my colleagues as well, that the original motions call for quite a few things. This only calls for whatever items that the Charter Review Committee, the public hearings, and the legislature, whatever they come up with, that those final recommendations would go to a ballot for the city of Augusta to vote on to be implemented. That would be the intent of item 25. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Commissioner Johnson. Chair recognizes Commissioner Alvin Mason from the fourth.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, Ms. Cody, for coming down and expressing your concerns, which I'm sure are concerns of your neighbors and those that are in the community as well. I want to assure you and this entire city and county, for that matter, from where I stand, any changes whatsoever to this charter will, and I heard the mayor say should, but in my mind, it will go to the voters, period. I supported the vote going to the people for the mayor's vote. And it shouldn't be any different for any other type of charter. We, as a body of commissioners, should not, even though we're elected to represent our people, when there's an opportunity for our people's voices to be heard, that opportunity should be given. Not just from 10 of us, 6 of us, 7 of us, or whatever it is, but for the entire community when you're talking about your government. See, this isn't our government, or my government, his government, her government. This is our government. And in order for our government to be our government, that means everyone needs to participate. You pay into this government, you expect certain things from this government, and any changes that we make should be the changes that the people want to come out and vote for. We need to hear from thousands, not 10 people.
Tens
We
of
need to hear from
thousands.
thousands about how you want to see your government ran or how you don't want to see it ran. And that is the way that those of us that have defended this nation for your right to your freedoms and your right to vote and your right to say what you want to say and have your voices heard, this is the time frame for that to happen. So I hope we can have some robust and comprehensive discussion on moving forward. Anytime, even if it's just a regular business, you want to look at your business practices to see if they're still appropriate for the time and that we're in. So we're talking about 30 years worth of time where there's been no change. Well, now there's been one change in terms of the mayor, but 30 years. So we don't need change just for change's sake, but what is it that we need to change for a better community and Augusta Richmond County government to run for the people, which is you all. So, Ms. Cody, I'm certainly appreciative of you coming down. Commissioner Lewis, I appreciate you bringing her up and identifying her. And I appreciate the commission for no objections and allowing her to have her piece. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Commissioner Mason from the 4th. Chair yields to Commissioner from the 5th, Don Clark.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Ms. Cody, thank you for coming to join us. Thank you for your words, but more importantly, thank you for helping to be another voice to dispel unnecessary myths. No one on this body, and for those of us who attended the mayor's address on Tuesday, I think he made it abundantly clear from his standpoint and from all of our standpoint that none of us have the intention of ensuring that anyone's voice is minimized or removed from this process. I do want to clarify to you and to all of us, this is a new process for Augusta Richmond County. This has not been done since the charter was enacted. So there's going to be a lot of learning that's going to have to go forward from all sides, from the community standpoint, from the body standpoint, and even from the government as a whole. And there's a lot riding on the decisions that come out of this change. This is by far one of the most important decisions that this government is ever going to take to ensure that we add some clear definition and specifics to what our government looks like, from running day to day to even the services that our community benefits from, and even how our governmental body is aligned. So for you, I'm telling you, I'm excited that you're excited. We're excited about the fact that this is going to be a legacy-changing moment for our government, and it's going to take all of us to do it. So it's going to take you and others to make sure that everyone understands we're not perfect up here. What you all, from the community standpoint, have and believe that should be added to it, bring it. All of us, just like you brought it to Commissioner Lewis, and all of the constituents for District 5 or otherwise, for all the other colleagues up here, bring your concerns, because it's going to take all of us to do it. One thing I do have reservation about, because number one, we have not even begun this process yet. So I do want to ease your concerns on that. You're not late. You're right on time. Carl Vinson Institute, we have agreed that they will be hired on to help usher us through this process. And each of us, including the mayor, will select a representative to serve on the Charter Review Committee. That does not mean that Commissioner Don Clark or Commissioner Lewis will sit on that. Our citizens will make up that Charter Review Committee. And then they will collectively vote to agree on what changes are presented to go forward. But it's a long process that we have to go through with this. So I do want to make sure that everyone is under the clear understanding there are 8 consolidated governments in the state of Georgia. We are one of 8. We are one of the 4 larger in that population. So there are some unknown points of this that we need to make sure that we're clear on. For this motion that we're talking about today, I want to make sure that, number one, we don't continue nickel and diming this until we get the process started. The vote that we voted on previously was to get the process started, which was hiring Carl Vincent Institute. Each of us has the responsibility of choosing a community member to serve on the committee. But if there are other there probably are going to be other changes that we want to add to the resolution. And what I would hate for us to do is to just say, hey, we're going to do this one, and then next week we're going to do another one, and we're going to do another one. Let's do it holistically. Let's make sure that once we hire Carl Vincent Institute and they're in place to lead us through the process, each of us have selected our community member along with the mayor, and we are assembled and ready to move this, then let's make sure that we look at this resolution and see what other changes we need to make. It makes sense. Instead of just saying, hey, let's just do this one, and let's do this one, and next week, let's do it right. So I applaud you greatly. I appreciate you. But more importantly, I ask all of us to apply all of our efforts towards thinking about everything that we want to change, as opposed to just saying, hey, this is the only change we need to add to the resolution, because I pretty much guarantee it's not. So I'd like to make a substitute. Well, I don't think this one has even been motioned and voted on yet. So, but I will say that I like for us to holistically do this and not just base it only on this. You're hearing it from me and everyone up here that we all agree that everyone is entitled to a voice in this, and we'll receive that. And that commitment, I don't think you saw a east to west head swing at all. Everyone agrees with that. But I thank you greatly for that.
Thank you, Ms. Cody. Commissioner Johnson from the first.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I want to just add a point of clarity into this, that the whole idea of a resolution would not be coming before us if the Carl Vincent Institute of Government hadn't asked for it. And the resolution, the only purpose of this resolution that would be coming from this body would be to allow the Carl Vincent Institute to start, but it would also give them the parameters as to what should happen. So in that resolution now, it guides the process. It guides how the process starts, and it guides how the process ends. It talks about how the commission would have one appointee. It talks about how there wouldn't be any kind of appointees on this board that serves on other boards. It talks about the process lasting for up to 12 months. It talks about having public hearings. It talks about all types of different things. It talks about sending those items to the legislature. The resolution guides how we review our charter. And so if we don't add into this resolution a vote at the end of all of the review process, then I don't understand how we could go in and change the resolution after we've started the process. The process itself is decided by what this commission puts in the resolution. And so the ask is, since we're all agreeing on people should have a vote in this process by way of the ballot, to add it in this resolution, there's nothing else to take out of the resolution. What else are we going to take out of it? The 12-month process? We're going to take out the fact that employees or other people or other boards can be on this? I don't think anyone wants that. I don't think there's an appetite to go down that road. The only other place that we've had to have a conversation about has been this whole idea of this going to the ballot. And so we all agree to this going to the ballot. My ask is put it in the resolution so that the Carl Vincent Institute of Government knows that that is the end result. The resolution itself guides the process. And if a ballot referendum is going to be a part of that process, then put it in the resolution so that it can become codified and a part of what we're doing. And I think once this is signed, once this is voted on, it's nothing for the Carl Vincent Institute to go ahead and get started. I watched the mayor's address and I agree. We need to go ahead and start getting people appointed to this board. Like, let's go ahead and get the process started. But let's add that into the resolution. The resolution is not a living, breathing document. The resolution sets the tone for the charter, which is a living, breathing document. So I don't want us to mix the two of those up. We need to put this in the resolution.
Thank you, Commissioner Johnson. Before I address Attorney Plunkett.
Mr. Mayor, it may be appropriate that rather than saying that this is going to be a resolution, is that you include in the resolution that the Carl Vincent will draft language for a referendum. There's a separate process for calling for the referendum that would be necessary for this, but so that the parties would understand, or the commission would understand what would be voted on or what was suggested to be voted on in that regard. Alternatively, what we're looking at is saying that in addition to this resolution that was with Carl Vinson, that the maker of the motion is saying that we want a separate resolution or action that says that we must have a referendum at that point. But I don't think calling for a vote in this resolution is exactly the right spot. I think either add language to the resolution and direct them to do so, or in addition, direct that the body would call for a referendum at the time of the approval of the report.
So, Attorney Plunkett, if I could respond, I didn't ask for a second resolution. What I'm requesting is that the current resolution that we voted on unanimously, well, I don't think it was unanimously, but the resolution that we all voted on to guide this process, that we add in there that the changes, any changes presented from this review process would go to a ballot referendum. Now, if we say that we're going to ask Carl Vinson to prepare the language to be presented, who are they going to be presented that to?
If I may respond, the issue is there's going to be a report that comes back, all right? And the resolution was to engage the Carl Vinson Institute. So what I'm suggesting is that the motion needs to include that there would be a referendum on the results. That would be part, you could add that resolution as to the resolution, or alternatively, a separate resolution says that any action on that report requires a referendum.
And then the commission would have to agree to have a referendum vote at that moment?
No, well, there's actually an act to call for a referendum
What is that
once the
process?
report comes back.
What is that process?
It's similar to calling for a SPLOS vote or any other type of resolution, of any type of vote. So I think what you're wanting is to amend the resolution to have two parts. One is to engage the Carl Vinson Institute to do their work, but you're also wanting a second part of that resolution that says that any approval of this will require a referendum. So one is to engage someone. They're going to come back with a report which you may or may not like. You may not call for a referendum on their suggestions.
So again, let's go back. What is the process to call that referendum? When they bring their report back to the commission and we see all of the recommendations, at what point do we then say we want these recommendations to go to the ballot? How does that work?
There's a motion that's made by the body. A resolution is.
So the body would have to vote on. We would have to make a motion to draft the resolution to call for a vote at that moment.
Yes.
So how is that different than what I'm asking for right now?
Well, it seemed like we were getting confused between the issue of what is the direction to Carl Vincent and what they're supposed to do, as opposed to what you're asking this body to do after the report is completed. That is the confusion that I think is being created. What I'm asking in plain terms is what you just said. We allow Carl Vinson Institute we engage them to do the work. But then on the resolution that we also send to them to engage them to do the work, that we also as a body agree that any changes as a result of the work that they did is a part of a voting resolution, is a resolution to, as a referendum to a ballot. So, I'm not understanding how that couldn't happen now versus waiting a year until after the results come back. It's essentially the same thing. If the commission's going to have to pass a resolution to ask for the vote after the recommendations come back, what is the harm in putting it in the resolution now if our end game and our intention is to have a vote at the end of this process? There's none.
Okay,
and that's what I'm saying is that
so
the
motion
prior resolution
stands.
was to engage someone.
Mm-hmm.
What I'm saying is that you need to amend the prior resolution to also add that any action on those recommendations would require a referendum.
So we're saying the same thing. So you're saying that the motion that's on this agenda is basically what you and I are discussing right now.
I don't believe so. I think you need to add to the existing resolution that there would be a referendum
Is that not what this item is?
The item is, yes, sir. But there was a question about amending what Carl Vinson was doing. I just want to make, I guess I'm trying to clarify that.
I got you.
You're
I see what you're
asking
saying.
for what you're
Yeah.
asking Carl Vincent to do as opposed to what you're asking this body to do.
So I got you. So in that case, got you. So the motion can still be voted on with that understanding?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
All right. All right, colleagues. All right, so there is a motion. Is there a second? Second. There's a second by Commissioner Tony Lewis. Seeing no other colleagues in the queue, let's vote.
It's unanimous.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Ms. Cody, thank you for being here. And I would hope that you would be serving on this committee. 30 minutes. Thank you. All right. Madam Clerk, that takes us to the next order of business, number 26.
Item 26, discuss and approve path forward for House Bill 581.
All right, Madam Administrator.
Mr. Mayor, members of the commission, at our previous committee meeting, I was left with the directive to come back with potential public hearing dates. I met with our interim finance director as well as our tax assessor's office to discuss those respective dates, and as well as our law department, our legal staff, to figure out how we needed to proceed with advertising for those public hearings. I have both the tax assessor and interim finance director here today to provide any respective answers to questions that may arise. However, I would recommend that we proceed with those public hearings. But in order to proceed with those respective public hearings, we need to look at the potential of opting out of the homestead exemption. So let me be clear, that does not mean when the vote is made that you will opt out, but you have to advertise it in such a process, as part of this process, that in case you do want to opt out for the March 1st, because it has to be voted on before March 1st, that if you do determine that you want to opt out, this process has to have been in place prior to, and it has to be advertised as such. You will see a number of agencies doing that, just to give the public an opportunity to come in and speak, whether it be our constituents or our business community. But it gives those public hearings and everyone the opportunity to come provide some information as to how they feel we should proceed. So I would ask that we proceed with the public hearings with the intent to opt out of the homestead exemption.
Thank you, Madam Administrator. I got a few colleagues in the queue, so our recommendation is to proceed with having the public hearings, 3 public hearings, with the potential decision to opt out. Commissioner Lewis from the 6th, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mayor Johnson. This is for the administrator. Ms. Allen, what consideration did we make in preparing to putting these 3 public hearings together when it comes down to locations? I noticed that all 3 of them are to be held here at the municipal building. Did we put any thought to perhaps taking those to different parts of the city so that it wouldn't be so cumbersome for those that would like to attend to have to come all the way down here? I think, and I would like to note, just about anything that we've done by way of storm-related incidents and other public meetings and public forums, we've kind of gone out into the city, perhaps one in West Augusta, one in South Augusta, and one being here. And I think that would be the ideal thing to do, as opposed to having all 3 of them here at this location. Perhaps move one to Diamond Lakes, one out to Warren Road. That gives the citizens that lives in those respective areas an opportunity to come to one of those farms and not have to travel so far. to get there. And I don't think the logistics of that, I don't think it'll be a problem of kind of tweaking that and moving that around. But it does give us an opportunity to look out for the citizens of Augusta Richmond County by way of them coming to said forums, public forums.
Can I respond to that?
Yes, ma'am.
That would not be a problem, Commissioner Lewis. We could have, one at Warren Road and one at Diamond Lakes. All we just need to do is advertise the respective dates. We can always change that as far as the location. So we could do that.
Appreciate it. Thank you, Madam Administrator.
Thank you, Commissioner Lewis. Chair recognizes Commissioner Wayne Guilfoyle.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Mayor, I've been watching other municipalities doing their public meetings and reading any kind of information I can on this House Bill 581. What was presented to the public is it doesn't have the full attachment with it as far as the consequences. So I would like to hear from our intern finance director, Tim Schrader, as well as our tax assessor, Scott Roundtree, if you don't mind, for them to give us a little short version of, hopefully they're going to be at these public meetings as well, and to enlighten us, because right now there's a lot of us behind this dais that still had a lot of questions. So.
Got it. All right. Interim Director Scherer or Tax Assessor Roundtree, whichever you guys want. Which one would you like first, Commissioner?
Let's hear Tim first, sir.
Interim Director Scherer, you have the floor, sir.
Yes, sir.
Tim, if we move forward with this House Bill 581, what will happen at that moment for Augusta Richmond County?
If you
opt in,
or do nothing and you're automatically opted in, then there is a mechanism that reduces the millage rate or increases the exemption for a certain portion of the homesteaded properties. In essence, what that does is our rollback rate will slightly increase to offset those additional exemptions. Excuse me. The net effect to Augusta for revenues is nominal. This first year, I think we projected to be about $500,000. Excuse me.
You need water, sir?
No, I'm good. The other thing if we opt in, there's an option for an additional sales tax.
Yes, one.
That can be anywhere from a 0.05 up to 1%. An additional sales tax. That sales tax will be a direct rollback to the millage rate, which will decrease your millage rate. If currently we're at, say, 6.5 mils, with the rollback, it'd be down to 3.5 mils. The thought we had was, well, if you do that, if you keep your millage rate the same, Augusta will see some additional revenues, which is correct. But the downside to that is when we do that, you would have to advertise a tax increase every year. That the millage rate was above the rollback rate.
So we will have to increase the millage every year?
No, sir, you do not.
Okay.
You don't have to do that. If you wanted to fund, thank you. Seasonal allergies in the winter, I love it. If you want to maintain or have some additional revenues, then you can keep your millage rate at the same. For example, if the 6.5 mils, if we did that, increased the sales tax by, say, 0.5%, we'd bring in approximately $25 million. The way the law is stated right now, that $25 million will go to reduce your ad valorem taxes. So if our sales tax and ad valorem taxes, total collection is $100 million. If you did nothing but just reduce the millage rate, you'd still have $100 million in collections, but the ratio would flip from about 50-50 to probably 70-30. If you want to pick up some additional revenue, you could leave that millage rate at 6.5. That would, in essence, you'd pay, the homeowners or the property owners would pay the same amount in property taxes. So that would stay the same, and you'd pick up that additional revenue from the sales tax.
It was my understanding reading the HB 581 that if you implement the FLOST anywhere from 0.05% all the way up to 1%, that any kind of revenue generated has got to go against the millage rate. It reduces the millage.
It reduces that to your rollback rate. So, but you could advertise a tax increase. So you keep your millage rate the same, but you'd have to advertise that as a tax increase.
Okay, so what happens with the business side of the community, the investment side of the community, the business, what happens to that?
Because those properties would not be homesteaded, they would not have any advantage of the floating homestead exemption. So in essence, you would be shifting some of your tax burden from the homesteaded property that receive the benefit to the homesteaded properties that don't receive the benefit and your commercial properties. You're just shifting the tax burden.
Okay. Anybody have any questions? I'll bow to them.
Thank you, Commissioner Mayor Pro Tempore Guilfoyle. Commissioner Stacy Pulliam from the 2nd. The floor is yours, madam.
Thank you so much, Mayor Johnson. Thank you for your explanation, Interim Director, Finance Director Schreier. My question is actually for the administrator. Have we reached out to our lobbyist to see if she will be participating either in the forums themselves or just in providing that information? And the reason why I'm asking is because she is the only paid expert that represents the Commission on Government and Legislative Affairs. And because this is a bill, I believe that exploring that would be something that we definitely want to do.
Okay.
Because it's the taxpayers' dollars.
We can look at that. I know Ms. Rubinson had provided us some information regarding the bill as it had already passed to determine how we move forward. And as she has stated to us in our discussions, it's really a policy decision by the governing body to make. We've looked at also other agencies and communities, and they're doing different things. Some are staying in because they don't necessarily have a tax cap on the millage. You have some that are opting out because of the potential growth that's going on in their community. So she does not provide us any respective opinion on which is best, but I can consult with her some as it relates to how we can proceed.
Absolutely. Again, reiterating what I just said, because I know that, her job consists of making sure that we understand things as well as making sure our voice is heard. I think that's very important.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, thank you, Commissioner Pulliam. Chair recognizes Commissioner from the 5th, Don Clark.
Hey, Madam Administrator, so I think all of this, we're doing the right thing, number one. It's still a lot of information that needs to be disseminated to everyone, including us. If we go the route of the colleague from the 6th, will we be able to live stream as we would be able to if we did it here in the chambers?
Yes, we
Okay, that's the biggest thing, because some people still may not be able to make it, but still may want to refer back, so thank you.
Yes, sir. We'll make sure that takes place as well.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Clark. Chair recognizes Commissioner Francine Scott from the 9th.
Thank you, Mayor Johnson. This question is for the administrator also, and it's in line with what Commissioner Pulliam was saying. Are we going to have experts presenting at the 3 locations when we discuss HB 581, or how are you proceeding with who will be
The
presenting?
presentation will be done by our tax assessor and our interim finance director. The bill has already been approved, so this is basically explaining how it's going to affect us, how it's going to affect Augusta, and they are the experts in that respective area based on the information that's provided. Neither one is going to make a recommendation because they're just going to present the facts of how it's going to affect our the city of Augusta operations.
Yeah, and colleagues, this is legislation that's already been passed by the Georgia General Assembly. The bill was actually signed right here in Augusta in the Linda Beasley room. At the time, we didn't realize how complex it is, but every one of Georgia's 159 counties is trying to make a decision. So unfortunately, the decision is ours and how it affects our tax base and our governance. So at some point, we'll have to make a decision after we hear from our constituents. All right, Commissioner Al Mason from the 4th.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And actually, you said some of what I was going to say. I was there for that signing that day down in the Linda Beasley room. When you talked about having the voters have a voice in the process, voters did have a voice in that process. It was approved. And so here we go again. From my perspective, it'll be awfully difficult for me not to listen to the voice that has already stated that this is what we want. Now I'll listen to any presentations that are out there, but I'm just talking about me personally. From what we've sat here and said, we want people to have the right to vote, and this, that, and the other. Well, maybe we want to put our money where our mouth is in this particular case because there's already been a vote on it. Now, in terms of questions and who's going to present and their level of expertise in the bill, I'm assuming you're saying that the tax assessor and the interim finance director. Good, because there's some questions that have come up to me in several phone calls from veterans, wondering how, if at all, there would be an effect on the veterans, especially those as a tax assessor and them knows that like our 100% don't pay the property tax and so forth like that. So they're wondering, is there going to be any type of effect as far as that if they were opting out or we denied it or whatever? Do you have that answer even right now or yes, sir?
So this homestead exemption would have no impact on any existing homesteads. It is in addition to and not in lieu of. So essentially, we'll determine whatever the cap is based on inflation, set that limit, and then add on any exemptions that a particular person already has.
And that right there, Mr. Mayor, is important to note. And for that information to get out. Information is very critical when you're talking about making a decision. Also, it sounds to me like if we opted out or if we did something different, then there would be other ways to manipulate and receive that money back, almost robbing Peter to pay Paul. I'm not sure exactly how all that's going to work. I'll be interested to note and get some more specific detail so I can really analyze that appropriately. So I'm looking forward to the discussion. Commissioner from the 6th, my esteemed colleague, Commissioner Lewis, glad that he brought up the fact that we do need to have them in those various areas. And I'm also thinking about East Augusta as well, but I guess you're counting East Augusta as coming here to the municipal building. Is that what we're looking at? Is that okay? Okay, well, just want to make sure that we're covering all areas. So again, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Yes, sir, Commissioner Mason. Chair recognizes Commissioner Jordan Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a question. Once this is voted on, are we voting? Can you help me understand exactly what we're voting on right now, or what we're getting ready to vote on?
We're getting ready to, I would love to entertain a motion to start the process for the public hearings, the 3 public hearings.
And they will be advertised as an opt-out?
No, these are just public hearings to receive feedback and provide information to the residents.
But how we have to advertise that? Yeah, Ms.
All right, Administrator.
Yes, sir. You would have to advertise it with the intent to opt out of homestead exemption. That is the only way that if you do determine that you, as a governing body, want to opt out, this has to be formalized in that process.
Okay.
It does not mean you will, but it just has to be advertised as such, just in case you do make that determination.
Is there a way that in our advertisement that we could explain that says that these meetings are having to be held in the event that we opt out, but we have not decided to opt out?
Yes, sir.
We can
Most
advertise
definitely.
it publicly in that
Yes,
regard?
sir. We will have our advertisement out, but we will also make a statement that will say that this is the process, but does not mean that the governing body is going to opt out. Yes, sir.
Only reason I'm asking that because I'm with Commissioner Mason on this one. I believe that the voters said what they said and they believe what they believe, and I don't think it's a good idea to snatch their vote from them. But if there's a way for us to be able to advertise what you said in a clear way, because we're going to get the calls, I wouldn't mind voting today. But if for somehow like the motion or whatever doesn't specifically say that, then I don't think I will be able to vote for it. But my concern is just how we advertise it.
It's basically they specify how you have to do the advertisement, the actual advertisement that goes into our newspaper, our local newspaper, as well as the website. But that does not prevent you outside of that ad stating that it is not necessarily the decision to opt out, but this is the process.
And then after those public hearings, we're going to come back and take another vote?
Yes, sir. You have to vote then. You have to have a vote in by March 1st.
By March 1st.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Ms. Allen.
And for clarity to the colleagues, that resolution that was on the November 5th ballot did offer governments the option to opt out. It said you could opt in or you could, have community meetings and hearings if you elected to opt out. So that was also 62% of the vote. So, Commissioner, from the first, we can certainly entertain a motion to opt in, or we could take the recommendation from our administrator to have the 3 public hearings, but I think it's time for a motion in either event. Commissioner Clark, I see you in the queue. Is there anything you'd like to add?
No, Mr. Mayor, I'd just like to go ahead and move us forward. Let's go ahead and make the motion in support of what the administrator has approved with advertising the dates. If anyone has an issue with the dates, let's bring that up. But I'd like to go ahead and make the motion to go with the recommendation from the administrator.
All right, is there a second? There's a second by Commissioner Wayne.
Point of clarity, please,
Coming
Mr.
to you,
Mayor.
Commissioner Mason. Yes, sir.
If we were to opt in, would that prevent the meetings from happening?
You're already opted in. It's just a matter of your vote that will be cast will have to be whether you want to opt out. Everybody's opted in unless they decide to opt out.
So in other words, there wouldn't be any meetings because we've already opted in. In other
Because
words,
you're
is what
already
saying.
in. You're
okay,
in now.
That's what I want to know.
Yes, sir.
So, okay. All right. Thank you,
But,
Mr. Mayor.
and
Yes.
you could have public hearings without that, but this is if you determine at the end of all these public hearings and you get all the respective information that you're looking for, that if you determine that you want to opt out, this would have had to be the course that you have taken.
Okay, I understand. It's just that, and this happens in government way too often, where the verbiage or the wording becomes diluted and confusing. So we are going to have the meetings with the intent to opt out. I mean, just listening to that just right off the bat is a negative right off the bat. Now, then there's a separate statement that someone may not even read because they're already mad because we're opting in, right? Opting out, so they never even get to the point of, well, this is not necessarily our intent that we're going to make that decision, but we have to do this based on yada yada yada. That's the only thing, and I know you don't control that. I tell you, this government can be real strange. It could have been made much more clear or stated with much more clarity for the counties, 159 of them, I believe it was last count.
159.
To be able to really put this out to the public. It seemed like they wanted confusion. So I'm trying to figure out what's the hide, because usually when you want confusion, there's a little hide there. My job is to get the devil out the details so the truth can come out.
And, to the credit of our Georgia General Assembly, in my opinion, I think they did a good job by putting this on the counties because every county is different. It's all based on your tax base, which communities are growing, which aren't, which it truly benefits. So they said, we're going to put this back in your court. You decide what's best for you, your community, and your constituents. So we have a decision to make. If we want to opt in or we want to opt out, but just note that if we stay in, we're going to have to pass a floating local option sales tax, which is, Attorney Plunkett, remind me, can we go a full penny or do we have to just do a half a penny?
We could only go up half a penny as long as the C-SPLOS is in effect. And also you have to take into effect the constitutional tax cap is also one of the factors to be involved.
All right, so we can only do a floss for a half a penny. So keep in mind, and we also have a tax cap that's in place. Thank you, Attorney Plunkett. All right, Commissioner Clark, you in the queue, or you have the motion, and I have a second from Mayor Pro Tem Wayne Guilfoyle. Are we prepared to vote now? Or you?
Yeah, just let me make one statement. There's 11 of us up here. All of us represent our constituents. I think we need to all ensure that we get behind the understanding, because I think you all make the great points. We need clarity, but we need to also make sure that we protect the administrator and her staff so that when they're putting this out there, that no one's coming to attack you all. Because number one, you all did not draft this state bill that's been put out there. We're going under the confines of what you all have been given. But our media partners back there, our community members and otherwise need to understand and help kind of accentuate the point of what Augusta Richmond County is trying to do for its constituents. We're putting this out in line with what the stipulations are, but we're also trying to ensure that we inform everyone appropriately. There's a lot of misunderstanding. There's a lot of clarity that still needs to be obtained, but all of us need to be committed towards helping that commitment and be responsible with it. No one needs to say, just take a piece of this and say, hey, they've committed to this one way or the other. We're trying to make sure that everyone, including us, is informed appropriately. My motion still stands.
All right, I have a motion and a second, and keep in mind, these work sessions are encouraging our constituents to come out and let their voices be heard. So that's what we intend to do.
Absolutely.
All right, Madam Clerk, I think we're ready to vote on Commissioner Don's clock motion to start the public hearings, the 3 public hearings. And just for the record, Madam Administrator, what's our timeline? When we had to have these done by, so this body knows.
March 1st is the deadline to actually vote on action. Our goal is to have this on our agenda at our last meeting, commission meeting in February.
Yes, that's the vote in or out. And that's the last commission meeting before March 1st is February.
Is it the 28th, Ms. Bonner, or?
The last one.
You said the last one.
It's the
First and third,
all right.
the third Tuesday.
The third Tuesday.
18th, February 18th. I apologize, February 18th.
February 18th. Commissioner Stacy Pulliam, is there anything additional you'd like to add?
Thank you, Mayor Johnson. Just a question. Administrator Allen, with us stating it the way we have to state it, you know how there's sometimes fine print and people just have to read the fine print? Is that not able, can there be fine print of sorts to give an explanation as to this meeting has to be held so that your voice or your opinion can be had? And I saw Attorney Plunkett chime, he was ready to. Yes, sir.
Well,
Or
if you don't
whoever.
mind, I'll take that from the administrator.
Yes, sir.
The statute has very clear what the language must say.
Okay.
And I think that you jeopardize any action if you deviate from that. So we need to say, follow the language that is printed. It's fairly clear. I'm not entirely sure, but I think the word is shall. So it shall read this way. So that's not a lot of fine print that we can add to that without jeopardizing the vote. So.
Okay, and so I'm speaking specifically though for the public meetings.
At the meetings.
How they're advertised, yes, sir.
Advertisement is statutorily set forth.
Okay.
So we have to follow the statute for that. When those meetings are brought together, whoever conducts it can say this is our opportunity to be heard and have voters and other interested parties to explain their thoughts on whether or not we should stay in or should we opt out.
So will there be, in addition to that release, is there going to be a PSA of sorts that is going to state these meetings are necessary in order for your voice to be heard, be it yes or no? I know you wouldn't say that exactly, but something to that effect.
Commissioner Pulliam, there is a possibility to do that. I've looked at other agencies. They have done that, even though they did advertise, of course, the intent to opt out as the statute regulates. But it does give, we've had, I've seen where the mayor has gone out and did a public statement and encouraged the citizens and the community to attend these and did let them know that the decision is not to opt out, but to give community feedback.
Okay. And so, thank you, Administrator Allen. Thank you, Attorney Plunkett. And so, Mayor Johnson, may I please direct a question to my colleague, Commissioner Clark, who made the actual.
Yes, ma'am, you may.
Okay, thank you so much. So, can we not add that language, what they both stated, to this, to your motion? That we are going to actually have those PSA, so people will understand what it is. Also to gain the support of everyone so that people know that they are, in fact, we have to hold these meetings, whether they vote yes or no, so that their voices can be heard. I think that would be advantageous.
Yeah, I think, we just need to make sure that that's clear for us to be able to do that. If we can, then I'll absolutely add that. Mm-hmm.
Attorney Plunkett.
I think the issue is that you would want to have the motion say to advertise to opt out on the 3 dates and also direct the administrator to provide information, disseminate information that these meetings are being held as the body is going to consider whether or not to opt out or stay in. Okay. I think that's really what you're trying to accomplish.
That is exactly what I'm trying to accomplish. And if my colleague, Commissioner Clark, would be willing to.
Yeah, it's no question about it. So
Thank you.
if that means I amend the motion to include that,
Yes, sir.
so moved.
Well, we
You
just
have that, Ms. Bonner?
let's just take the easy route out. Are there any objections to the amendment to allow the PSAs as crafted in accordance with the attorney and the administrator?
No objections, Ms.
No
Bonner.
objections.
We don't want that smoke. Thank you.
So
Okay.
that motion carries. All right, we ready to move on to the next item, Madam
No,
Clerk?
sir, we need to vote.
We need to vote. All right, let's vote.
Ms. Scott and Ms. Smith, right? Who's 3? It's Miss Rice. Ms. Scott, she's still thinking. Oh, it's not working? Okay. Can you tell me how you're voting? Yes, okay. That motion is unanimous, with Ms. Scott voting yes.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Let's move on to number 27.
Number 27 is to discuss TIA improvement maintenance.
Thank you so much. Commissioner Johnson?
Did you want these passed out?
Yes, ma'am. This item is on the agenda because I've been made aware of some concerns from the Accelerated Augusta team, the DDA, and a couple other folks. And I'm sorry, wrong item. So I'm trying to get out of here.
29.
27 is, those pictures are for 29, so please keep those, Commissioner.
Hold the pictures. This is for item 29.
You can keep them, but just hold them for 29. This is 27. That's what happened when I put too much on the agenda in one meeting. 27, the TIA improvements, I wanted to have a quick discussion, nothing too in depth about our plan to maintain the fixtures that have been put in around Broad Street. If you look on 13th, it's really pretty right now, but springtime and summertime, those weeds are going to start growing, the bushes are going to start getting out of control, and we're going to have a maintenance plan in place. So I wanted to get the conversation at least started about what does maintaining our TIA improvements look like, even with the brick maintenance at the crosswalks. How are we going to maintain the bricks? Who's going to be responsible for pressure washing and all? So I wanted to just get that conversation started. We don't have to make a decision today, But if Dr. Malik could come to the podium and maybe take a couple questions from us. Again, I think those improvements look great, but this spring and this summer, we're going to be getting calls about them. So, Dr. Malik, my first question is just simply, can you talk to us a little bit about the plan for maintenance for the TIA improvements in downtown?
Yes, sir. So there's two type of improvements. One is structural improvement roadway, which basically we roll it back to our regular road maintenance program for resurfacing sidewalk. Other is the landscape area. So that's part of ongoing landscape maintenance plan right now. Really, the thought, at least from department side, is that we needed to have that conversation back. This body discussed about the parking meters and generated revenue for the downtown, just dedicated for the downtown, all that. The other is some of these areas already under the landscape maintenance operation by the city. So we're going to look into those resources. Presently, we are maintaining some of these within the project, budget we have on that. But the long term, especially for the downtown, we have to look at how we wanted to continue funding this, especially like Fifth Street Bridge. Engineering is maintaining now through the regular maintenance program. The benches and all, there's a lot of vandalism going on that. But the downtown, still gonna be 2 more years before really we get to the actual expenses. But I said, it's part of the previous landscape maintenance, and there are changes which we're making that there should not be a whole lot additional cost to what's there. So.
What do we already have budgeted to take care of, like I mentioned, the 13th Street improvements, the brick crosswalks on Reynolds and 13th, Jones in that area? What dollars do we already have allocated for that, for this year, for this spring and summer?
So we have this contract services contract for the landscape maintenance in the right of way, which basically primarily engineering was taking care of, like with about 7 roundabouts. We got like 15th Street area in front of the Augusta Mall. All of there are others. So we're working through that, and 13th Street going to be work into the same contract. It's already included in that contract that was coming. So it's around $310,000, which is already in the engineering right-of-way maintenance program.
How much?
310.
And will that be enough to maintain what we already have and the additional maintenance needs, or will we have to come back?
So the Broad and Green, for example, they were previously maintained by Park and Rec, and they're transitioned to the engineering, and that's the ongoing discussion each year we had during the budget. And there are other 38 plus, there are 48 different locations, and that contract is roughly $700,000 per year. And so last year, back in March, I came to this body and we worked out the funding for last year. This year, it's still not worked out, so we're working through it.
Yeah, all right.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Malik.
All right. Commissioner Slandak, I'm going to get to you in just a second. I just have a quick question. So, Dr. Malik, in listening to you, are you saying that all these almost hundreds of millions of dollars that we're putting in to Green, Broad, 13th, that there's no maintenance plan that's already in consideration?
No, sir. What I'm saying is these roads are already under the maintenance program by the city. So, like Broad, for example, it was done by Park and Rec completely, but it's transitioning to the engineering. So those programs will continue in a modified shape and form. I don't see really a whole lot additional costs it would create. We just, making changes to the landscape area, and we may be reducing it to some extent.
But it appears on 13th that the landscape is more extensive. There's more plantings, which requires more either weeding. And if the remaining plans are the same, I see an increase in the need to maintain those beds, the sprinkler, and the brick and everything else. Is there no way that when we do these TIA projects that we could reserve funding for maintenance? Because that's one complaint we hear all the time as elected officials. You do a great job of beautifying it, and then it goes to hell, once it's put in place. The maintenance. Will TIA allow us to reserve so many funds to maintain?
So right now we're maintaining, we do have 18-month to 12-month warranty period, all that. So we're covering the cost 2-3 years to the project. And then we look at our overall landscape, when you say our engineering budget, and we try to kind of optimize that. So far we have not really increased anything, but we're able to still maintain what we're maintaining and add 1 or 2 new projects into that.
Okay. All right, Commissioner from the 7th, Commissioner Tina Slindeck.
Yes, I know right now at Jones Street and 13th Street, the bricks in the crosswalk they're coming up. There's a big pothole there. If you're turning left to go over into North Augusta, I had 2 constituents tell me about that, and I rode down there and looked. I mean, those things haven't been done but a couple of months, and I don't know why vendors or these contractors are allowed to do that kind of work, and then we've got to come back and fix that. I mean, we're talking about a couple of months, and those bricks are already scattered, and there's a big pothole. So I'm just, I'm just reporting that. I mean, I had actually intended to email you. I don't know. I may have already. I don't know. But this just came up. But I just think it's ridiculous that something that's been done a couple of months is already coming apart. And I think there should be some accountability to those people to make sure it's done right and fixed in a quick amount of time. That's just...
Yes, there is accountability, and there's no additional cost to the city. The project is still under construction. And then we inspect, we see the defects, they have to fix it. So that's what, contract. So there's no additional cost to the city or to the project. And not only that, state doesn't require, but we at local level require 18-month warranty on all these improvements. So even they walk away, but during 18 months, if the defect appear, like bricks breaking and other things, they have to come back and fix it at their cost. So there is accountability, there's a process there on that. So all the work they're doing, there was some defects, and they are coming back and fixing it at their cost.
Excuse me then, what is the process when we see a giant pothole there in a brand-new brick sidewalk? Do we call you?
Yes, engineering and project, we will get back to the contractor, and it may be already on our list to get it fixed, but yes.
Okay, thank you.
All right, Madam Administrator.
Just to add to what Dr. Malik stated, another thing that we have done is start taking a holistic approach, a review of our maintenance altogether. That's one of the areas I think I explained to you that we were going to be looking at within our 180 days is how we can get a real comprehensive maintenance program together. I think they've been doing what they can with some of the funds that have been allotted with some of the resources. There's been many changes in the respective maintenance program as a whole from various departments. And I think that was one of the things that our governing body had a concern about, because there was a lot of finger pointing because of the division and additions and things of that nature. So right now we're looking at a comprehensive, holistic approach to how we will take care of the maintenance needs of our community. And hopefully we should have something back to you within the next 60 days as a recommendation on how we could proceed.
Thank you, Madam Administrator. All right, colleagues, Commissioner Johnson, are we going to receive this as information? All right, are there any objections to receiving this as information? Hearing or seeing none. Thank you, Dr. Malik. Madam Clerk, let's move on. Takes us to 29.
Item 29, discuss 600 Broad improvements.
From our colleagues, this is the handout that Commissioner Johnson shared. Commissioner Johnson, you have the floor, sir.
Yes, sir. Now we're on 29. Okay, so we've been made aware of some concerns with the 600 Broad building. As you know, the Accelerate Augusta program is under construction there, and it's going to be great for our community. But I won't attempt to speak for them and their needs. I'll ask, if it's okay with you, Mr. Mayor, to allow Margaret Woodard, our director of the DDA, to come up and speak to this item.
Yes, sir. Ms. Woodard, good day. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Commissioner Johnson, and good afternoon, Mayor and Commissioners. I'm just going to give a quick recap on this project. The DDA entered into a long-term lease with the city at 600 Broad to build a micro-enterprise center for the city of Augusta. Accelerate Augusta is under construction right now, which we're so excited about, and will be a training center for entrepreneurs and a resource center for the city's many small businesses. Our educational partner is Augusta Tech, and the funding for the project was a $2.3 million appropriation grant from Senator Warnock's office. When we started looking at this project, if we wanted to do everything, totally refurbish the building, which, by the way, is 47 years old, it was going to cost $3.5 million. And that didn't align with the grant funds. So, with the expertise of an architect and a general contractor, we deferred 4 construction items that we felt we had 3 to 4 years. We'd be good for 3 to 4 years to look for grant money, future SPLOST funds. And those items were a new roof, the exterior windows, pouring new exterior concrete pads, and an elevator in the interior. And so with that, we were able to start construction. Everything was great until the winds from Helene blew through and damaged the roof. And what you have right now are photos of what 600 Broad looks like after a rainstorm. We're almost completed with the project. We are so very excited, but we're at a standpoint now. We can't lay the carpet and the tiles, and we can't bring in the fixtures and the furniture and the computer equipment and all the great things because of the roof. So the cost of a roof is going to be $375,000. The DDA has $175,000 remaining in SPLOST 7 that we can contribute to the building, and are more than happy to do so, because this is like our dream. This is what we've been working on for years. We reached out to Administrator Allen and started conversations, and not only has she been very supportive of this project all along, she has looked at some alternate ways to help get this roof done, and I'm gonna hand it over to you now. Put you in the hot seat.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Ms. Woodard. Yes, I did have some conversation with Ms. Woodard and Dr. Worrell as it relates to this project and the benefit that it's going to bring our organization and our community. I've also looked to see if there was any respective funding, since that is our actual building. We are the owners of the building, and we did have some funding available in our existing funds for existing buildings that we own for maintenance that we could utilize from SPLOST 8. So this will not affect our 2025 budget, has nothing to do with 2025 budget. You know how I'm a stickler about the 2025 budget, but it will be outside, and it will be SPLOST funding that is already allocated for respective buildings.
All right. Madam Administrator brings up an interesting point, and Ms. Woodard, you mentioned that this was caused as a result of Hurricane Helene. Madam Administrator, can we add this to our list to get reimbursed as part of our recovery through FEMA?
Yes, we can.
So we can recover this $200,000 and they can go back to our general, wherever those dollars come from?
Potentially. I don't want on the record that I stated it, but we could actually, since this is a building that we own, we could make sure that it's actually presented to for reimbursement.
Could you direct Interim Director Lampkin to start that process to make sure, if you don't mind?
Yes, we also had some discussion with Ron Mr. Lampkin in regards to this, not as it relates to FEMA, but in regards to the roofing itself, and he's also did an assessment with them.
Thank you so much. Chair recognizes Commissioner Mayor Pro Tempore Wayne Guilfoyle.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. That was my question, to see if we get reimbursement from FEMA. But my second question is, when the boathouse flooded, I brought that to the attention of the former finance director. I said, what about our insurance?
Self-insured.
Well, we might be self-insured, but there's a cap on it. And so we was able to get back $200 and something thousand off that insurance policy. So we might want to look at that as well, see if we could add it to the list of all the other properties that got damaged. Maybe it passes that threshold. Because a lot of us people in Augusta had to rely on insurance to get stuff fixed during this hurricane.
Yes, sir. I'll look at both of those options, and I'll make sure I give you all an update on it.
Thank you so much, Madam Administrator.
All right, Commissioner Johnson, you want to enter a motion to grant this $200,000 towards 600 Broad?
Yes, sir. I make a motion to grant $200,000 towards the 600 Broad improvements.
Coming out of our SPLOST dollars.
Out of the
SPLOST 8.
Out of SPLOST 8.
Second.
I heard a second from Commissioner Francine Scott. She chimed in first.
All right.
All right. Madam Clerk, we're prepared to vote. I'm sorry, Commissioner Johnson, you still in the queue?
No, I just want to thank Ms. Allen for going to work on this and working hard to find us those dollars. She didn't hesitate. She didn't even think twice. She jumped in to help. So we want to thank her.
She was
Thank you, Ms.
awesome.
Allen.
Thank you. All right. Let's vote.
Thank you.
Thank you
Unanimous.
for your continued support. It means a lot to us.
Thank you. All right, Madam Clerk, how many more we got? One more, right? Item 30.
If you say so. Approve supplement funding, supplement
I thought somebody pulled it. Didn't somebody ask that?
30?
Yeah.
Motion to approve.
Thank you.
There's a second.
That was Ms. Scott?
Yes.
Okay.
All right, we're voting, Madam Clerk.
Okay.
This is our fastest commission meeting yet, 2:37, 37 minutes.
We started at 12.
Start at 12:30. That's a good try. That's good, Mayor Pro Tem.
Sounded good.
It did.
Got to vote, bro.
We waiting on you down, Clark?
Yeah. It's unanimous.
Madam Clerk, does that conclude our
Point of
business
privilege.
today?
Yes,
Point of privilege,
sir.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes,
So
sir.
this meeting is hereby adjourned.
Mr. Mayor, point of privilege, Mr. Mayor, if I could, before we leave. Mr. Mayor. Mr. Mayor.
Ms. Scott.